The notification lit up the dark car like a lightning strike. I wasn't snooping. I need to make that clear from the start. My wife, Vanessa, had rushed into our house in such a hurry that morning, coffee in one hand, work bag in the other, that she'd left her phone wedged between the passenger seat and the center console. I was about to run it inside to her when the screen came alive with a message that made my blood run cold. "Last night was incredible. When can I see you again?" "Kay." My hands started shaking. 23 years of marriage, and I thought I knew everything about this woman. We'd built a life together, raised 2 kids, weathered storms, celebrated victories. We weren't perfect, but we were solid. Or so I believed until that October morning when everything I thought I knew came crashing down around me. I'm Nathan Cross, and this is the story of how one forgotten phone destroyed my world and rebuilt it into something I never could have imagined. Before we go any further, I need to ask you something. If you're watching this story right now, feeling that knot in your stomach that comes from betrayal or secrets, you're not alone. Thousands of people watch these stories every day, finding comfort in knowing they're not the only ones going through something. But here's the thing. Most people watch without subscribing, and that makes it harder for stories like this to reach others who need them. So, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button for Story Mode Folktales right now. Smash that like button, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps more than you know. Plus, you'll want to be here for the ending of this one. Trust me. Let me back up and tell you how we got here. Vanessa and I met in college, both working part-time at the campus library. She was studying interior design, and I was grinding through my business degree. She had this way of organizing the return cart that was somehow both efficient and beautiful. Color-coded, sorted by height. I fell in love with her attention to detail before I fell in love with her smile. We got married young, maybe too young by today's standards. I was 24, she was 22. My parents thought we should wait, build our careers first. Her parents thought I wasn't ambitious enough for their daughter. We proved them all wrong, or at least we thought we did. I built a solid career in commercial real estate. Not flashy, but steady. Good income, respect in my field, enough to give us a comfortable life in the suburbs of Columbus, Ohio. Vanessa started her own interior design business from our spare bedroom, then grew it into a boutique firm with 3 employees and an impressive client list. We had our daughter Bridget when I was 27, our son Dylan 3 years later. Regular family dinners, soccer games on weekends, annual vacations to Lake Erie. From the outside, we were the picture of suburban success. But if I'm being honest, the cracks had started showing about 2 years ago. It was subtle at first. Vanessa started taking on more evening consultations. She joined a gym and started going at odd hours, 5 in the morning, sometimes 8 at night. She got a new phone and became protective of it, something she'd never been before. When I'd ask about her day, her answers got vaguer. "How was the Johnson project?" "Fine. Good. Exhausting." Where she used to share every detail, the drama with the contractor, the client's impossible demands, her creative breakthroughs, now I got one-word answers. I told myself it was normal. We'd been married over 2 decades. People change, relationships evolve. The passion might fade, but the foundation remains solid, right? I told myself she was just stressed with work. Her business was expanding, and with expansion came pressure. I told myself a lot of things to avoid confronting what was becoming increasingly obvious. My wife was slipping away from me, and I didn't know why. The kids noticed too, though they didn't say anything directly. Bridget, now 20 and home from college for fall break, had made a comment last week that stuck with me. "You and Mom seem distant," she said carefully, helping me load the dishwasher after dinner, while Vanessa worked late in her home office. "We're fine, honey. Just busy. Dad. She gave me that look that said she wasn't buying it. I'm not a kid anymore. I can see when something's off. I'd deflected, changed the subject, sent her off to meet friends, but her words echoed in my head for days. That brings us to this morning. Tuesday, October 17th. A day that started like any other and ended with my entire worldview shattered. Vanessa had been up early, rushing around more frantically than usual. She had a big presentation for a corporate client, a complete office redesign for some tech startup downtown. At least, that's what she told me. I might be late tonight, she'd said, barely making eye contact as she grabbed her travel mug. The Riverside Tech presentation could run long, and I promised I'd take the team for dinner after if we landed. Sounds good. Good luck with the pitch. She'd kissed my cheek, a quick, distracted peck that felt more like obligation than affection, and rushed out the door. 30 seconds later, I heard her car start, then the sound of her pulling out of the driveway. I was heading to my own car for the drive to my office when I noticed the glow from the passenger seat of Vanessa's SUV. She'd taken my car this morning because hers was making a weird noise, and she hadn't had time to take it to the shop. Her phone, wedged between the seat and console, screen face up. I grabbed it, planning to run it inside. That's when the notification appeared. Last night was incredible. When can I see you again? Cow. My first thought was that it must be spam, some kind of wrong number, but then I saw the contact name. Kevin M. And below it, a string of messages just visible, in the preview. My stomach dropped. My vision blurred at the edges. I stood there in my driveway, holding my wife's phone, while my neighbor Mrs. Pritchard waved cheerfully from her mailbox. I waved back automatically, my face frozen in what I hoped looked like a normal smile while my internal world collapsed. I should have put the phone down. I should have gone inside, called Vanessa, asked her directly. That's what a trusting husband would do. But I'd been a trusting husband for 23 years, and look where that got me. I unlocked the phone. I knew her passcode, our wedding anniversary, 0614. She'd never changed it, never hidden it from me. Why would she? We were supposed to be partners. No secrets. The messages loaded, and what I saw made me physically sick. The conversation with Kevin M. went back months. May, June, July, August, September. Dozens of messages, hundreds maybe. Can't stop thinking about you. Tonight was perfect. You're perfect. I hate that you have to go back to him. Soon. We'll figure it out soon. I scrolled faster, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. There were photos too. Nothing explicit, thank God. But intimate. Vanessa at dinner, smiling in a way I hadn't seen in years. Vanessa in workout clothes I didn't recognize. A selfie of them together, his arm around her shoulders, both of them laughing. He was younger than me, maybe early 40s. Handsome in that gym rat kind of way. Square jaw, perfect teeth, styled hair. Everything I wasn't anymore. I wanted to throw the phone. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to wherever Vanessa was and demand answers. Instead, I stood in my driveway, shaking, reading message after message that detailed my wife's affair with someone named Kevin. The worst part wasn't the romantic messages, as gutting as those were. It was the casual intimacy, the inside jokes, the plans they were making, the way she talked to him about her day, her dreams, her frustrations, all the things she used to share with me. Nathan is working late again. House to myself tonight. That one was from 3 weeks ago. I had been working late, on a property deal that was supposed to secure our retirement. For us, for our family. While I was working to build our future, she was building a future without me. I scrolled to the most recent messages, the ones from last night. Same place, same time? Wouldn't miss it. I'll tell N I have a late client meeting. N. I was N now. Not even worth typing out my full name. The reply came at 11:47 p.m. I'd been asleep by then, exhausted from a long day at the office. "You're amazing. Tonight reminded me why I'm willing to wait." Wait for what? For her to leave me? For me to conveniently die and make things easier? I checked the timestamp on this morning's message. It came through at 6:53 a.m., right after Vanessa left the house. He must have been up early, thinking about her, missing her already. My hands were still shaking as I opened her photo. Gallery. I don't know what I was looking for. Maybe proof that this wasn't happening, that there was some innocent explanation. There wasn't. Photos of them together at restaurants I'd never been to. A weekend trip to Cincinnati. She'd told me it was a design conference, a hiking trail that looked like Hocking Hills, where we used to take the kids when they were little. Our place, our memories, now tainted. I was spiraling, my mind racing through every late night, every business trip, every time she'd been too tired for intimacy or too busy for conversation. How long had I been the fool? How long had everyone else known? The sound of a car pulling up snapped me back to reality. My neighbor's landscaping crew. They waved. I waved back, still holding Vanessa's phone, standing in my driveway like an idiot. I walked inside on autopilot, locked the door behind me, and sat down at our kitchen table. The one we'd picked out together 15 years ago. The one we'd refinished last summer as a project to reconnect. I stared at the phone for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Then I saw it. A calendar notification. Lunch with Kay, Riverside Bistro, 12:30 p.m. Today. She was seeing him today, right after her supposed presentation. Something crystallized in that moment. The shock gave way to cold, calculated fury. I wasn't going to confront her over text. I wasn't going to call her crying and begging for answers. No, I was going to see this for myself. I opened my laptop and looked up Riverside Bistro. Upscale place downtown, about 3 blocks from where Vanessa's presentation was supposedly happening. I knew the area well. I'd closed a deal on a property near there last year. I checked my calendar. I had a site visit at 10 and a lunch meeting I could easily reschedule. I was going to that bistro. I was going to see my wife with this Kevin. And then I'd decide what to do with the rest of my life. But first, I needed to know everything. I spent the next hour going through Vanessa's phone with the methodical attention of a forensic investigator. Every message, every photo, every calendar entry. I took screenshots of everything, emailed them to myself from a burner email account I created on the spot. The picture that emerged was worse than I'd imagined. Kevin Mitchell, 38 years old. Personal trainer at Vanessa's gym. That's where they'd met. She'd mentioned him casually months ago. My trainer Kevin says I should focus more on core strength. I'd thought nothing of it. They'd started as training sessions. Professional. Then he'd asked if she wanted to grab a smoothie after a particularly hard workout. Then smoothies became coffee. Coffee became lunch. Lunch became... I found messages from July where things had clearly crossed a line. I know this is wrong, but I can't stop thinking about you. Me too. This is crazy. We should stop. But we won't, will we? No, God help me, no. They'd slept together for the first time in early August. At his apartment, while I was at a conference in Chicago. The messages after were full of guilt and passion in equal measure. I've never felt this way before. Is that terrible to say? We can't keep doing this. I know. But when can I see you again? By September, the guilt had faded. The messages became routine, domestic almost. Plans for their next meeting, complaints about their days, dreams about a future together. If things were different, they can be different. You deserve to be happy. It's not that simple. The kids, Nathan, everything we've built. I'm not asking you to blow up your life. I'm just asking you to consider what you really want. And apparently, what she really wanted wasn't me. I sat in my car outside Riverside Bistro at 12:15 p.m., watching the lunch crowd filter in. Business people in suits, young couples, retirees enjoying a weekday lunch. And then I saw her. Vanessa walked up to the entrance at exactly 12:28 p.m., 2 minutes early, as always. She was wearing the blue dress I'd complimented that morning, the one that made her eyes stand out. She'd dressed up for him. My wife looked nervous and excited in a way I hadn't seen her look in years. She checked her reflection in the restaurant window, smoothed down her hair, refreshed her lipstick. She was preparing to see her lover the way she used to prepare for our dates, back when we were young, and every moment together felt electric. Then he appeared. Kevin Mitchell, in the flesh. Tall, fit, wearing a polo shirt that showed off arms that spent way too much time in the gym. He smiled when he saw her, a smile that said he knew he had something precious, something stolen. They embraced. Not a friendly hug. A real embrace, his arms tight around her waist, her hands on his chest. They held it for several seconds, oblivious to the people walking past them. When they pulled apart, he kept one hand on the small of her back as he guided her inside. I sat there, gripping my steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Part of me wanted to storm in there right now, make a scene, flip tables like some wronged husband in a bad movie. But I didn't. Because as I sat there, watching the restaurant door swing closed behind my wife and her lover, something occurred to me. Something that had been nagging at the back of my mind since I'd started reading those messages. The timeline didn't quite add up. Vanessa had mentioned Kevin the trainer back in April, but their messages didn't start getting intimate until July. What happened in those missing months? I pulled out my phone this time, not hers, and opened our shared credit card statements. I'd never checked them carefully before. Why would I? We trusted each other. I scrolled back to May. June, multiple charges from a company called Prestige Wellness and Fitness. That was Kevin's gym. But the amounts were weird. Way more than a typical gym membership. I Googled the gym and found their website. Standard membership was $89 a month. Personal training sessions were $75 each. But Vanessa was paying $500, sometimes $800 a month. I called the gym, trying to keep my voice steady. Hi, yes, my wife is a member there. Vanessa Cross? I'm trying to understand her billing. There seem to be some charges I don't recognize. The receptionist was cheerful and unhelpful. I can't discuss specific member accounts, sir. Privacy policy. You'd need to come in with ID and proof of... I'm on the account. We have a joint credit card. Still, I'd need verification, but I can tell you that those amounts probably include personal training packages, nutrition counseling, spa services. Spa services? We have a full wellness center. Massage therapy, couples packages, that sort of thing. Couples packages. I hung up before she could say anything else. Real quick, if you're still with me on this journey, I need you to hit that subscribe button for Story Mode Folktales. This story gets even more intense, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Subscribe now, drop a like, and let's continue. My mind was racing. I pulled up Vanessa's phone records. We were on a family plan, so I had access to everything. I filtered for Kevin's number. Hundreds of calls. Text messages every single day, sometimes dozens. Calls lasting 20 minutes, 30, an hour. Times when she'd told me she was working late, she was actually on the phone with him. But there was another number that appeared frequently in her call log. No name attached, just a number with a local area code. Calls to this number started back in March, months before Kevin entered the picture. I ran the number through a reverse lookup website. Gregory and Associates Family Law. A divorce attorney. My wife had been planning to leave me since March, 6 months before she even started her affair with Kevin. Or maybe Kevin wasn't the first affair. Maybe he was just the latest. Maybe my wife had been living a double life far longer than I'd realized. I needed more information. I couldn't just sit in this parking lot spiraling into paranoia. I drove to my office, told my assistant I wasn't feeling well, and to reschedule everything for the rest of the day. Then I locked myself in my office and started making calls. First, I called Gregory and Associates, pretending to be someone interested in their services. "I'm considering a divorce and wanted to get information about your firm." The receptionist transferred me to a paralegal who gave me their standard pitch: aggressive representation, fair asset division, protection of client interests. "Do you handle complicated cases, where there might be hidden assets, that sort of thing?" "Absolutely. Attorney Gregory specializes in high-asset divorces where one party may be attempting to hide income or property." "And your consultations are confidential?" "Completely. Even if you decide not to move forward, everything discussed is privileged." "How long has your firm been practicing?" "Attorney Gregory has been practicing for 15 years, specializing in family law for the last 10. I thanked her and hung up. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I used a legal database I had access to through work and searched for any filings under Vanessa's name. Nothing. No divorce papers filed, no legal separations. Whatever she'd been discussing with that attorney, she hadn't pulled the trigger yet. Why? What was she waiting for? I went back to her phone messages, reading more carefully this time, looking for clues in the conversation with Kevin. There. Mid-September. "Have you talked to your lawyer yet?" "Yes, she says I need to be patient. Document everything. Make sure I'm protected." "How much longer do we have to wait?" "She said to give it at least until after the holidays. That way it looks less suspicious. More like I gave the marriage a real try." "I hate waiting. I want to wake up next to you every morning. Soon, I promise, once everything is in place." Everything is in place. What did that mean? I spent the next 3 hours digging through our financial records with fresh eyes, our joint accounts, our retirement funds, the investment properties I managed, our daughter's college funds. And that's when I saw it. Someone had been slowly, methodically moving money. Small amounts at first, 1,000 here, 2,000 there, transferred to an account I didn't recognize. Over the past 6 months, nearly $85,000 had been siphoned out of our investments. I called our financial advisor, someone I'd worked with for over a decade. "Hey, Tom. Nathan Cross. Quick question about some transfers I'm seeing on our statements." "Sure, what's up?" "There are several transfers to an account ending in 4/25/29. What account is that?" I heard typing on his end. Hold on. That's a separate investment account, opened in April under Vanessa's name only. She said you two were diversifying your portfolio, wanted to have some separate accounts for tax purposes." Right, of course." My voice sounded calm, even though I felt like I was having a heart attack. "Can you send me the details on that account, for my records?" "Sure, but I'll need Vanessa to authorize that since it's her individual account." "No problem. I'll have her call you." I hung up and stared at the wall of my office. My wife hadn't just been having an affair. She'd been planning her exit strategy for months, consulting with a divorce attorney, moving money to accounts I couldn't access, building a new life while pretending everything was fine. The affair with Kevin wasn't the disease. It was a symptom. My marriage had been dead for months, and I'd been too blind or too comfortable to notice. I thought about our last vacation, just 6 weeks ago. We'd gone to Charleston, supposedly to reconnect. We'd walked the waterfront, had nice dinners, even made love one night after too much wine. Had she been thinking about him the whole time? Had she been counting down the days until she could leave me and be with Kevin? My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. Presentation went great. Going to take the team to celebrate. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. The casual cruelty of those two words hit me harder than anything else. She could lie to my face, betray our vows, plan to destroy our family, and still end her texts with love you, like it was just a reflex, meaningless as a period at the end of a sentence. I wanted to text back, to confront her, to ask her how she could do this. But I didn't. Because while I'd been uncovering her secrets, a plan had been forming in my mind. If Vanessa wanted to play this game, wanted to strategically plan her exit and protect her interests while destroying mine, then fine. I could play too. But I'd been a commercial real estate broker for 20 years. I knew how to negotiate. I knew how to find leverage. I knew how to win. And my wife was about to discover that the husband she'd dismissed as boring and predictable wasn't going to make this easy for her. I spent the rest of the afternoon documenting everything. Every message, every call, every financial transaction. I created a detailed timeline of her affair, her legal consultations, her financial maneuvering. Then I made my own appointment with an attorney. Not just any attorney. Patricia Reynolds, the most aggressive divorce lawyer in Columbus. I'd heard about her through colleagues. She had a reputation for destroying unfaithful spouses in court. My appointment was for 9 the next morning. I went home that evening and acted completely normal. I made dinner, pasta carbonara, one of Vanessa's favorites. I asked about her day. I listened to her lie about the presentation, the team dinner, how exhausting but rewarding it all was. You seem tired, I said with genuine concern. Why don't you take a bath? Relax. I'll clean up. She smiled at me with what looked like gratitude mixed with guilt. You're sweet. Thank you. As she headed upstairs, I heard her phone buzz. I knew without looking it was probably Kevin, asking how her evening with her clueless husband was going. The old Nathan would have felt crushed. The new Nathan felt nothing but cold determination. I cleaned the kitchen meticulously, wiped down the counters, loaded the dishwasher. Normal. Routine. A regular Tuesday night in the Cross household. From upstairs I could hear the bath running. Vanessa's phone buzzed again, this time from where she'd left it, charging in the kitchen. I glanced at it. Another message from Kevin. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. I'm counting the hours. Tomorrow. What was tomorrow? I checked her calendar again. Dentist appointment, 2 p.m.? Sure. Dentist. Right. I put her phone back exactly where she'd left it and went to our home office. I needed to check one more thing. Our life insurance policies. We each had substantial policies, $500,000 each, with the spouse as the primary beneficiary. Standard stuff when you have kids and a mortgage. But as I pulled up the policy documents, I noticed something. Vanessa's policy had been updated in August. The beneficiary was still listed as me, but there was a contingent beneficiary now. Bridget, our daughter. That made sense. If something happened to both of us, the money would go to the kids, except my policy hadn't been updated. It still only listed Vanessa as the beneficiary, with no contingent. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe Vanessa had just been more thorough when she'd updated hers. Or maybe she'd been planning for a future where she wouldn't be around to collect on my policy, because she'd already be gone. Divorced, and she wanted to make sure the kids were protected. Or maybe... No. I was spiraling again. Not everything was sinister. I closed my laptop and headed upstairs. Vanessa was in bed already, reading on her iPad. Good book? I asked. Just some design blogs. Trying to stay current? She yawned. I'm exhausted. Big day tomorrow, too. Right. You have that dentist appointment. Dentist appointment? She looked confused for a second, then recovered. Oh, right. Yes. Cleaning. Long overdue. She'd forgotten her own lie. She was getting sloppy. Well, get some rest. I kissed her forehead. I might stay up a bit. Got some work to finish. Okay, don't stay up too late. I waited until her breathing evened out, until I was sure she was asleep. Then I went back downstairs, sat in the dark living room, and let myself feel everything I'd been suppressing all day. Rage, grief, betrayal, humiliation, 23 years of marriage, 2 children, a life built together from nothing. And she was throwing it away for a personal trainer 13 years younger than me who probably couldn't even spell mortgage. But beneath the emotion, my analytical mind was still working. Something didn't add up. The timeline, the money, the insurance policies, pieces of a puzzle I couldn't quite see yet. Why had Vanessa been so careful about the money, about consulting lawyers, about waiting until after the holidays? And why did she need a divorce attorney who specialized in hidden assets when our finances were completely transparent? We had joint accounts. She knew what I made. I knew what she made. There was nothing hidden. Unless she thought I was hiding something. I pulled up my business accounts, my investment records, my property holdings. Everything was exactly as it should be. I'd never hidden a dime from Vanessa. But someone had convinced her otherwise. Someone had planted seeds of doubt, made her think she needed to protect herself from a husband who was somehow deceiving her. Kevin? Maybe. He'd have incentive to make me look bad. The lawyer? Possible. Divorce attorneys made money when marriages ended. Convincing someone their spouse was hiding assets was good for business. Or maybe Vanessa had convinced herself. Maybe she needed to believe I was the bad guy so she could justify what she was doing. I didn't have answers. Not yet. But tomorrow, when Vanessa went to her dentist appointment, I'd be there. Not to confront them this time, just to watch, to gather more information. And Friday morning, I'd meet with Patricia Reynolds and get professional advice on how to protect myself and my kids from the impending disaster. For now, I sat in the dark and mourned the death of my marriage. Not with tears. I'd cried earlier, alone in my office. Now I was past tears. I mourned with cold, quiet acceptance. This marriage was over, had been over for months, maybe longer. The only question now was how to survive the ending. Wednesday, October 18th, the day everything changed. Again. I followed Vanessa at a discreet distance as she drove downtown. She wasn't heading to any dentist. She was heading to a hotel. The Grandview Suites, one of those boutique places that charged $300 a night for rooms with exposed brick and overpriced minibars. My stomach churned as I watched her park and walk into the lobby, glancing around nervously before disappearing inside. I couldn't do this. I couldn't sit in my car and imagine what was happening upstairs. I drove to a coffee shop nearby, ordered something I didn't drink, and stared at my phone. Then, at 3:47 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Cross? This is Detective Linda Morrison with the Columbus Police Department. I need you to come down to the station. It's about your wife. The world tilted. Is she okay? What happened? Sir, I need you to come to the station. We can discuss this in person. Tell me what happened. Is Vanessa hurt? There was a pause. Your wife is fine, Mr. Cross, but we have some questions for you. Please come down to the station as soon as possible. I drove there in a daze, my mind spinning through possibilities. Had something happened at the hotel? Had Kevin done something to her? Had she been in an accident? When I arrived, Detective Morrison led me to an interrogation room. Small, gray, intimidating. Mr. Cross, where were you this afternoon between 1 and 3 p.m.? At a coffee shop on 5th Street. Why? What's going on? Can anyone verify that? I paid with a credit card. The barista might remember me. Detective, please, you're scaring me. What's happened? She slid a photograph across the table. Kevin Mitchell, my wife's lover. Looking very much alive, but very much under arrest in what appeared to be a mugshot. Do you know this man? My heart was pounding. No, should I? He was arrested this afternoon for insurance fraud. He claims you hired him. I stared at her. What? Detective Morrison pulled out a folder. Kevin Mitchell has been running an elaborate scheme for the past year. He targets wealthy married women, seduces them, convinces them their husbands are hiding money, encourages them to take out large life insurance policies or move money to secure accounts. Then he stages accidents or helps facilitate divorces where he takes a cut of the settlement. My mouth went dry. Vanessa. Your wife hired Mr. Mitchell as a personal trainer in April. By May, he'd convinced her that you were likely hiding assets and that she needed to protect herself. He introduced her to a lawyer, who's also under investigation, who helped her start moving money. The affair, was it even real? According to Mr. Mitchell's statement, he's very good at making it feel real. That's his job. Detective Morrison's expression softened slightly. Your wife genuinely believes she's in love with him. She has no idea he's a con artist. She thinks she's the one protecting herself from you. I sat back, processing. She doesn't know you arrested him? Not yet. We wanted to talk to you first. Mr. Mitchell claims you were suspicious, that you hired him to seduce your wife as part of some scheme to catch her being unfaithful and win in a divorce proceeding. He's trying to flip the script, make himself the victim. That's insane. I know, his story doesn't hold up. But I need to ask, did you suspect your wife was having an affair before yesterday? No. I found her phone in the car yesterday morning. That's when I found out. And you didn't confront her? I wanted to gather evidence first. I was meeting with my own lawyer Friday morning. Before we get to what happens next, I want to remind you to subscribe to Story Mode Folktales if you haven't already. This is the kind of story you'll want to see the ending of, and we have more like this coming. Hit that subscribe button now. Detective Morrison nodded. That's probably what saved you from being charged as an accomplice. Mr. Mitchell has done this before. 4 times in the past 3 years across 2 states. Each time, he seduces a married woman, isolates her, convinces her to move money or take out insurance policies, then either disappears with the money or stages some kind of accident for the insurance payout. Stages an accident? You mean, in 2 previous cases, the husbands died under suspicious circumstances. One fell downstairs. One had a heart attack that may have been induced. We're investigating, but so far nothing's provable. Mitchell's smart. He never gets his own hands dirty. I felt sick. Was Vanessa in danger? Possibly. Or he was setting you up to be. We're still piecing together his plan. She pulled out another photograph. This is Amanda Gregory, the attorney your wife was consulting with. She's Mitchell's partner. She provides legal cover, helps the women hide money, files paperwork that makes everything look legitimate. And they just get away with it? They did. Until now. We got a tip from Mitchell's ex-wife. She figured out what he was doing and came forward. We've been building a case for 3 months. My head was spinning. So what happens now? Now you go home. You act normal. Tomorrow morning we're executing search warrants on Mitchell's apartment, his gym, and Attorney Gregory's office. We'll bring your wife in for questioning. She's a victim here, Mr. Cross, not a criminal, but we need her testimony to make the charges stick. She's going to be devastated. Yes, which is why we'd like you to be there when we tell her. She'll need support. I drove home in shock. Everything I thought I knew had been wrong. Vanessa hadn't fallen out of love with me. She'd been manipulated by a professional con artist who made seducing married women his business model. The affair, the secret phone calls, the moved money, all of it had been orchestrated by Kevin Mitchell and his partner. but the feelings were real. Vanessa had genuinely believed she was in love with him. She genuinely believed I was the enemy, hiding money, planning to screw her over in a divorce. How did I even begin to fix this? That night, Vanessa came home at 6:30, all smiles. "Great news! The Riverside Tech deal came through. We got the contract." She hugged me, genuinely excited. For a moment, I could see the woman I'd married. Enthusiastic, passionate about her work, happy. "That's wonderful, honey. I'm proud of you." We had dinner. We talked about her project, about Bridget's plans to study abroad, about Dylan's struggles in chemistry class. Normal, domestic, real. And the whole time, I knew that tomorrow morning her world was going to explode. Thursday morning, I got the call at 8 a.m. "Mr. Cross, this is Detective Morrison. We're executing the warrants now. Can you bring your wife to the station by 10 a.m.? Can I tell her why? Tell her we have questions about an ongoing investigation. That's all." I found Vanessa in her home office, going over fabric samples. "Hey, the police called. They need us to come down to the station. Something about an investigation." She looked up, confused. "What investigation?" "They didn't say, but they asked for both of us." I could see the panic flash across her face. She thought they'd found out about the affair, about the moved money. "Nathan, It's okay. We'll figure out whatever it is." The drive to the station was silent. Vanessa kept glancing at her phone, probably trying to warn Kevin. But there were no messages. He was already in custody. At the station, Detective Morrison met us with a female officer I didn't recognize. "Mrs. Cross, thank you for coming. Please have a seat." Vanessa sat, clutching her purse like a lifeline. I sat beside her. "Mrs. Cross, what can you tell me about Kevin Mitchell?" She went pale. I don't. We arrested Mr. Mitchell yesterday on charges of fraud, conspiracy, and 2 counts of suspected homicide. We believe you may have been targeted as part of his criminal enterprise." Vanessa's face went through a series of expressions. Shock, confusion, denial, horror. That's impossible. Kevin wouldn't." Detective Morrison laid out the whole story. Kevin's pattern, the other women, the suspicious deaths, the money trail, Amanda Gregory's role. With each revelation, I watched my wife crumble. "But he loves me," she whispered. "He said—" "He's a con artist, Mrs. Cross. Everything he said was a lie designed to manipulate you." The detective showed her evidence. Bank records, testimony from Kevin's ex-wife, messages between Kevin and attorney Gregory discussing Vanessa as the mark. My wife started crying, not pretty crying, ugly, broken sobs that shook her whole body. I put my arm around her. She leaned into me, and for the first time in months, maybe years, she let herself be vulnerable with me. "I'm so sorry," she kept saying. "I'm so sorry, Nathan. I'm so sorry." The detective gave us space. An officer brought tissues. Vanessa cried for what felt like an hour. Finally, she looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "Did you know? About Kevin and me? I found out Tuesday, when you left your phone in the car. And you didn't say anything?" I was trying to understand, trying to figure out what I'd done wrong, what I'd missed. "It wasn't you. God, Nathan, it wasn't you. He made me feel seen. He listened. He made me feel young and desirable and—" She broke down again. "How could I be so stupid?" "You're not stupid. He's a professional. This is what he does." "I betrayed you. I betrayed our marriage. For a con artist who was probably planning to kill you or something horrible." She gripped my hand. "Can you ever forgive me?" I didn't answer right away, because I didn't know. The woman I loved had betrayed me, but she'd also been victimized. Could I separate those two things? Could I forgive her for the affair while acknowledging she'd been manipulated? I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know if I can forgive this. But I know I still love you. And I know we owe it to ourselves and our kids to try. Vanessa spent the next week giving testimony. Kevin Mitchell and Amanda Gregory were charged with multiple counts of fraud, conspiracy, and in Kevin's case, 2 counts of murder. The cases against him for the suspicious deaths were being reopened with new evidence. The money Vanessa had moved was recovered and returned to our accounts. The life insurance policy was left as it was. I actually agreed with having Bridget as a contingent beneficiary. Vanessa closed her gym membership, blocked Kevin's number, though it didn't matter since he was in jail, stopped seeing Attorney Gregory, obviously. We started marriage counseling, twice a week at first, then once a week. Dr. Sarah Williams, a specialist in rebuilding trust after infidelity. It was hard. God, it was hard. There were days I couldn't look at Vanessa without seeing her with Kevin. Days where I'd remember a specific message and feel the betrayal all over again. There were days Vanessa couldn't forgive herself. Days where she'd break down crying in the middle of dinner, apologizing over and over. But there were also days where we remembered why we'd fallen in love in the first place. Days where we laughed together. Days where we talked, really talked, in ways we hadn't, in years. Slowly, painfully, we started to rebuild. Bridget came home for Thanksgiving. We told her everything. She was shocked, angry at her mother, protective of me. But she also saw us trying, saw us fighting for our marriage, and it softened her. "You guys are actually talking to each other," she observed. "Like, really talking. I don't think I've seen that in years." She was right. The affair, as devastating as it was, had forced us to confront problems we'd been ignoring for years. We'd gotten comfortable, complacent. We'd stopped prioritizing each other. Kevin Mitchell had exploited that weakness. But now that it was exposed, we could actually work on it. I won't say it was easy. I won't say we're completely healed. Even now, months later, there are moments of pain and doubt. But we're trying. We're fighting for our marriage instead of against each other. And sometimes, that's enough. So that's my story. The message that turned my life upside down turned out to be part of something much bigger and more sinister than a simple affair. It forced me to confront painful truths about my marriage, but it also gave us a chance to rebuild something stronger. The moral here? Life rarely gives us the villains and heroes we expect. Sometimes the betrayal is real, but the betrayer is also a victim. Sometimes fighting for your marriage means fighting through pain you never thought you could survive. And sometimes, the worst day of your life becomes the first day of saving what matters most. Trust your instincts, but also verify the facts. Don't let pride or pain make decisions for you. And if someone seems too good to be true, whether it's a charming trainer or a too easy solution, they probably are. If this story resonated with you, if you've been through betrayal or manipulation, or if you're fighting to save something precious, know that you're not alone. Subscribe to Story Mode Folktales so you never miss stories like this. Hit that like button. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and whether you think Vanessa and Nathan did the right thing trying to save their marriage. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay strong and stay vigilant.